thing, and we thought, okay, we're going to be able to finally ask questions about Caitlin Clark, the WNBA expansion, a lot of different things. And we waited and we waited and we waited. And then
Cathy Engelbert had one chance to sit down, answer real questions, and show she's actually running this league. Not because Dan Patrick ambushed her, not because the questions were unfair, not because there wasn't time, but because her own PR team told her to run and hide.
So yesterday, after the show, we waited almost 2 hours for her. This was scheduled. She was going to do a meeting in her hotel room, a conference call, and then she was going to join us. So
here's where this started. Caitlin Clark, the single biggest driver of attention this league has ever had, was driving to the basket against the Phoenix Mercury when 3 defenders swarmed her and stripped the ball. She was already on the ground when Alyssa Thomas ran in and drove a closed fist into her neck. No foul called in real time. No statement from the league that night. Nothing. It took a full review just to upgrade the play to a flagrant one. And even then, Thomas only received a single-game suspension for it. That silence is exactly what set the stage for this week's disaster. Think about the setting for a second, too. This wasn't some obscure charity dinner where a cancellation might slip by unnoticed. Engelbert and Patrick were both at the American Century Championship, a celebrity golf tournament that draws cameras and attention from across the sports world. There was nowhere to hide in plain sight, and yet somehow that's exactly what happened. A commissioner who had every incentive to be seen taking these questions seriously chose instead to be seen swinging a 9-iron while a national radio show waited on her. 2 hours. Not 2 minutes of a producer running late. 2 full hours of a national radio show sitting on standby for a commissioner who had already said yes. Patrick had promoted the interview all week, telling his audience they'd finally get real answers on Clark's safety and the league's expansion plans. His crew was ready. By his own account, Engelbert was close enough to see, roughly 50 yards away, golfing at the same tournament while his show was live on the air. Somehow, she still couldn't find a window.
the commissioner said that the WNBA staff, the PR staff, said that she is not allowed to do this. They would prefer that she did not do this.
Not she had a scheduling conflict. Not something came up. Her own communications team decided the commissioner of a major professional sports league isn't allowed to answer questions about her own league's biggest controversy. That's not a scheduling issue. That's an admission. If there was nothing to hide, there'd be nothing to run from.
You're the commissioner, and you're listening to the PR department, which is fine, but did you check with PR before you said yes to us?
That single line does more damage to Engelbert than anything a tough question could have. It means she agreed to the interview once, on her own judgment, and then got overruled by the same PR machine that's been managing this crisis since June. She's not just avoiding hard questions, she's not even trusted to answer easy ones without a script. Now step back and look at who else has been left on silent this season. When Thomas connected with Clark's throat, the league needed days just to review the play. When Thomas herself spoke out, she said she was getting racist abuse and death threats over the incident, and that she'd found out about her own suspension from social media before anyone at the league told her directly. Two players on opposite sides of the same controversy, and both of them are saying the same thing. Nobody from the league office called them first. This throat punch didn't happen in a vacuum either. Clark has been on the receiving end of hard, questionable contact for 3 straight seasons now, going back to being poked in the eye during her rookie year and getting knocked to the floor in a scrum the season after. Each time, the league's response has followed the same script. Silence first, a mild statement only after the backlash builds, and no real explanation of what changes going forward. That pattern is exactly why this cancellation lands so badly. It's not an isolated bad week. It's the same avoidance playing out one more time in front of a live audience. This isn't a one-time PR stumble. This is a pattern of an office that reacts only after the internet forces its hand. Then Congress got involved. 11 Republican lawmakers sent Engelbert a letter demanding accountability for what they called repeated attacks on Clark, calling her the face of a league that's seen a surge in ratings, ticket sales, and sponsorships because of her. They wanted to know how Engelbert plans to keep her own franchise players safe on the court. The Indiana Fever distanced themselves from the letter almost immediately, saying they had no idea it was even coming. Head coach Stephanie White was even more direct when reporters brought it up, simply saying, "That's not something the team can control." That's a coach trying to keep her franchise as far away from this mess as possible, and you can't blame her. It's not just lawmakers and radio hosts asking questions either. Some of the league's own media voices have started saying the quiet part out loud, describing Engelbert's leadership through this stretch as weak at a moment when the WNBA needs the opposite. When your own analysts are using that word, it's not a hostile outside narrative anymore. It's becoming the consensus read on how this is being handled.
Go back to when the Caitlin Clark incident happened. We reached out to the WNBA all morning long. We needed, just give us a comment. Does anybody have a comment on this? Is anybody there at the office? We couldn't get a hold of anybody. So want to be treated as a serious league, then do these. This is what happens. These are tough questions, but this is a fair outlet for you, a fair platform. I will treat you with respect.
But Patrick wasn't setting a trap. He said himself he wasn't trying to manufacture a gotcha moment. He just wanted honest answers on Clark's safety and the league's expansion plans. Two topics that should be easy for any functioning commissioner to speak to. The league just announced it's expanding to a 50-game season starting in 2027, the longest schedule in its history, which makes the silence even harder to explain. If the league is confident enough to grow, its commissioner should be confident enough to answer for it in public. Engelbert still couldn't show up for it. Here's the part that makes this worse than a single bad news cycle. Engelbert did eventually put out a written statement saying the league vehemently condemns any and all forms of hate and that player safety is always the top priority. Nice words on paper, but a statement drafted by a PR team is not the same as standing in front of a live microphone and answering a follow-up question. Thomas said the two of them exchanged texts privately, and that league security reached out to Phoenix's security team about threats against her family. So clearly something is happening behind the scenes. In public, the commissioner has said almost nothing, and every time the cameras are actually rolling, she's nowhere to be found. Disappointing might be underselling it. This is a league riding the biggest wave of attention in its history, built largely on the back of one player who's been knocked to the floor, poked in the eye, and hit in the throat across 3 seasons, and the person running the league can't spare 30 minutes to answer for any of it. Every time Engelbert goes quiet, the story doesn't die, it grows. Patrick's call-out didn't come out of nowhere. It landed after weeks of unanswered questions piling up. Congressional letters, player accusations, and a fan base that gets louder every week this drags on. The commissioner had an actual opportunity to get ahead of all of it, on a friendly platform, with a host who said outright he'd treat her with respect. Instead, she let her PR team make the call for her. And now the headline isn't about Clark's safety or league expansion. It's about a commissioner who wouldn't show up. If Engelbert wants this story to end, hiding behind a press release isn't going to do it. At some point, she has to sit down, on camera, and answer the same questions everyone's already asking. Because a written statement can't take a follow-up question, and a no-show can't defend itself. Every dodge only buys her another week of the same headline, and eventually, that week runs out. The frustrating part is how avoidable this all was. Nobody forced Engelbert to say yes to the interview in the first place. She had days of notice, a promoted appearance, and a host who publicly promised a fair conversation rather than an ambush. All she had to do was show up and give the kind of answers a commissioner is supposed to be ready to give. Instead, the story became about the empty chair, and an empty chair doesn't explain anything to Congress, to Alyssa Thomas, or to the millions of fans who tuned in specifically because of Caitlin Clark. So here's the real question. With Congress, the media, and her own players all asking the same thing, how much longer can the league's commissioner stay silent before the silence itself becomes the story that defines her time in charge? What do you think about Engelbert ducking these questions? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next update on this story.